A metal payphone under a yellow plastic dome. You could use it to call someone, unless you're out of change. You hear the tone. The machine is inoperable. Calling. Still calling. This feels wrong. Should you be doing this? End of tone. Someone picks up.
Pierre? Is that you, Pierre? So nice of you to find the time to call me. It gets so lonely. Even the animals have died. Are you sure you're Pierre? Your voice, it's different. There. Chrysanthemum.
Her voice is drowned in white noise. Sounds like waves washing a beach, growing in volume until the call suddenly disconnects. You get a sinking feeling. It makes you look if Lieutenant Kitsuragi overheard you. To your relief, he did not. Calling. Still calling. Again? Seriously? Someone with a masculine voice picks up.
Hello, Gerard speaking. What are you, like 5? Thanks for calling, asshole.
Phone hanging up. Disconnect tone. Calling. 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 Still calling. Still calling.
Stop calling me, man. I'll get you your money, alright? I just need till tonight. Let me work. Tethys. Hey! You're not Tethys. Screw you, and don't ever call here again. You're fucking with some serious people.
Disconnect tone. The remaining windows rattle from a strong gust of wind. They're covered in a thick layer of grime. They must have been like this for 40 years. Dripping water falls from a high place. All you can see is the shadow of a collapsing staircase.
No, I won't even try. You know, I had a partner once. They called him Eyes, because he had to show me things. It's that bad. Well enough, actually. It's odd how that works. I'm no sharpshooter, but I passed my shooting courses 7 out of 10.
And Mikhail noticed the windows, especially with how there are no windows on the south side. this was to deal with. You officers, come to investigate the historic subtext of West Martinez? I'm Tran Heilerstein. You must be Kim Kitsuragi, right? I was just telling my son about this building. Not a lot of people realize the historic significance here. Very rich in hypertext.
Nice to meet you.
Oh yes, so Mikhail. They had to deal with monitor glare, especially in the summer. They still had vector monitors back then. That was 49 years ago. So they didn't have windows on the south wall. Yes, hypertext. Young Carp and the collection of cultural hyperlinks.
He's just making up fancy words. This doesn't mean anything.
No, I can't say that we've met before, but I've heard of Kim, of course. Mikhail, say hi to the officers. Mikhail's a little tired today. We spent all night trying to run Orbis on his radio computer. Have you heard of it? It's a programming language used in Grad. Quite tricky, but he wanted to play this Grad-made adventure program. We've been getting really into Worms lately.
The man speaks in the artificial cadence of a professor, or someone who's been on too many radio shows.
But I assume you're not here for giant worms when there are so many real things to see. Just as I was telling Mikhail before, this is where the Coalition landed in '08. We could be standing on what is the most interesting landmark in Revachol West.
This man is your half-brother. You feel it. But why?
Aha! But it's not just any empty old building. What not a lot of people know is, this used to be the R&D department of Felt Electrical. And Felt, which now sells ink cartridges mostly, was once a top dog in the turn-of-the-century cybernetics boom.
Hold on. What's R&D?
Apologies, it's an acronym for research and development. They don't use it anymore. You're probably more familiar with RTD, Research and Technological Development.
Mea culpa. You are not familiar with that one either. This man is a bookhead. It looks old and weathered, with seagulls picking apart its stone and metal carcass. Bushy undergrowth has taken hold of the collapsed rooftop. Some kind of bird has set up a nest on a broken windowsill.
That's not surprising. Only a vestigial ink cartridge and ferrotape manufacturer remains. They started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries ago. After an aggressive move to Revachol, Feld became a global player in the emerging personal electronics market of the pre-revolutionary era. Still, Tricentennial was beating them in business machines. But Feld had an ace up their sleeve, or should I say they were developing an ace up their sleeve. I'm mixing my metaphors here. It was here in Martinez, possibly in this very building, that they developed prototypes for a tape computer. An elegant folding mechanism of rollers and ferrotape ribbons, portable enough to be a take-it-home solution, revolutionizing business machines, possibly even bring them to the average consumer, which is a feat of engineering even today's giants, Rehm, ICN and ZAM, haven't achieved yet.
He assumes something like a combat stance, facing the wind.
Indeed. What?
The revolution!
Unfortunately, their moonshot project never made it to the market. Feld's move to Revachol backfired. The revolutionary government liquefied their assets and expropriated those very advanced prototypes, possibly from this very building, or one of the adjacent ruins. All of this was built by Feld, even the boardwalk. Wild Pines built Martinez proper as a resort for their middle management. Feld built this side of town for R&D. Yes, they even built a pleasure wheel, but that got destroyed in the war.
A pleasure wheel?
Yes, to lure in their star engineers. This part of Martinez was nothing but reeds before Feld arrived. They had to make the prospect of living here attractive. It was supposed to become a global center for innovation in cybernetics. but history had other plans. Oh, I'm afraid it didn't end well for the boys. But this story is a bit too dark for little Mikhail here. Now, if you were to ask about tape computers, they used them for military communications, but also to write and send out press releases, the most notorious example being Le Décret de Mars. What's the Mars Decree? I mean the radio transmission sent out to news agencies and world governments by the newly created commune of Revachol on the 7th of March in the year 02. It's a beautiful piece of text, actually. A singer-songwriter I know, Charette, called it a love poem to Revachol on her political concept album, Bon Baiser dans ce Lind. You should read it. Every local library in Revachol stocks a copy of the decree. I tried to get Mikhail to memorize it. Tried to. Someone was much too interested in Worms to be paying any attention. Actually, no one knows. No one even knows what a computer made entirely of tape would look like. But word has it, they were very elegant, exquisite, alien-looking turn-of-the-century hardware. 10 years ago, I did a little freelancing, I guess you could say. I was a special consultant for an exhibition at the Womty Dumpty Dum Center in Vredefort, Oranje. It raised the same questions, and we had lengthy discussions with Paul Ockerman, who was head curator at the time. This was before the twins Keith and Guy Juice joined the team, trying to...
Wait, did he just say Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center? He did it. He said Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center, like it's the most natural thing in the world. What the hell is a Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center? And who the hell are Keith and Guy Juiced?
The Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center for Contemporary Art. The exhibition itself drew on Lagerman's notion of memory, and so there were some parallels. That's why the head curator, Paul Ockerman, chose to... In fact, I'm not. The Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center is a place you can visit if you're ever in Vredefort and are ever in the market for an exhibition space / contemporary art research center. But perhaps I should return to the tape computers. As I was saying, the device itself was very elegant, fragile even. One could write directly on the tape using a special chemical solution. The machine would then analyze the handwriting, perform operations, and project output onto a white screen. It was a beautiful, delicate thing. Very, very cool. Though I understand the socio-economic causes of the revolution, it pains me to imagine the revolutionaries setting fire to this precious device. But so they did. The felt playback experiment vanished into the fires of 07. Yes, the official name of the prototype. Some sources report it as the felt playback experience. But who knows? Maybe it was an accident, or maybe they didn't want the technology to end up in the wrong hands. Either way, they're all gone now. All 3 versions of the prototype. Nothing but debris and ashes remain inside that building. But of course, what else? I do have some money, yes, but that's not what's really important here.
He's not gonna give you money. What are you doing? Clearly you were just profiling.
Of course, Detective, I wouldn't have assumed anything else. Matter of fact, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Vespertine Department of Justice has published a rather interesting paper on the criminal profiling in former socialist states. Have you read it? If not, then you definitely should. If not for tips and tricks, then just for theoretical curiosity. Anyway, That's just a little something that sprang to mind. You were saying? No, thanks to you for having me and little Mikhail here to pick your brain. A very interesting conversation indeed.
You see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D. Heavy wooden doors, more than twice your height, stand shut in front of you. The rectangular sea-worn ornamentation appears in stark contrast to the padlock, carelessly drilled into the wood. Nothing happens, only the sound of the padlock rattling against the door.
I don't think that's going to work.
High above, the wind wraps the church in its rush, cold and wet from the ocean bay. It parts around the massive keel-shaped roof, like a test tunnel washing both sides, the way it has done for 340 years. The wind keeps its distance. So should you.
There is a hole in my heart.
The lieutenant looks at the padlock. He didn't hear you asking. You were quiet enough. The carving on the door is block-like and angular, like the church itself. Two large beams shoot downwards, sinking into the wood before they reach the threshold. The surface is smooth from the wind, but moist to the touch. Feels exceptional. 300 tons of pine would fit together seamlessly. It's old too, cut and carved many centuries ago. This cheap-looking padlock is sturdily built. It shackles together a hasp and a staple screwed into the wooden door. The lock is adorned with a yellow sticker. It'll be easier to break the staple than the lock. Also, that sticker is interesting, somehow. You see a yellow circle with two X's and a big curve below them that looks like a mouth. You're pretty sure you haven't seen it before, but what the symbol depicts is clear enough. A smiling dead guy. The curve makes it smile, and the X's make it dead. He takes off his glasses and uses a blue handkerchief to thoroughly wipe them clean before inspecting the sticker. Then he looks up, pauses, and replies.
No. Looks like a dead man smiling. Suggests junior delinquency. For Revachol ZOC, the moral intern defined junior delinquents as minors between the ages of 10 and 16 who have committed an act in violation of the law. These acts aren't called crimes as they would be for adults. Crimes committed by minors are called delinquent acts. This was part of your officer's exams. I haven't seen that sticker before, and I'm not a youth.
The padlock passes through a staple that's been hastily attached to the wood. Closer inspection reveals that one of the screws is not a screw at all, but a nail. The work has been done recently and is unprofessional, to say the least. There's nothing like the sound of a sticker unpeeling. Now it's stuck to your thumb. Voila! Looks very modern.
If you really think we should get in there, we need to find some other way. Can you hear the pulsing bass underneath the east wind? A sure sign of junior delinquency.
Winter, slow to let go of Revachol. Flecks some more wet snow from above. The snow falls lazily, making the beach sand paler still, mixing with the rust-colored sewage runoff. And to think, it seemed as though it were already spring. The melting snow seeps through your thin clothes. Grandmothers don't let their grandchildren out dressed so lightly in this weather. At least your hair is protected from getting wet and sticking together. You look around. More winding coastlines lined with abandoned buildings, crumbling piers, salt water lapping at their dark piles, grey and red forgotten city blocks, what remains of the pre-revolutionary effort to gentrify the coast. The waters turn black, coal city in the shadow of San Martin, a boom town, back when coal extracted from countless shafts near the city was needed to power Revachol. No more. The coal was supplanted by petroleum from the ocean floor and hydropower from the Esperance. Everything crumbled. These days, only the weakest remain in Coal City. Their hopes of getting rich linger in the defunct shafts under their feet. Below the old mines, l'Océan Municipal, Revachol's underground cemetery, Le Petit Rat, braved the underground passageways, trying to get to Le Royaume. Children under 14, they go underground looking for artifacts to sell to foreign museums, and for fabled relics. Their parents let them. They go deeper. After rubies, melchiorite, lapis lazuli, plundered from Safle and Seol during the time of the suzerain, in the burial chambers of the kings, Grand Old Philip, Guillaume II, and even in the mausoleum of Philip the Opulent. 2 kilometers underground, in a winding shaft along whose walls mirrors have been placed, so that daylight may eternally fall upon the richest of all the kings. The mausoleum contains untold quantities of gold, and that special, purest of the pure magenta cocaine, favored by Revacholian royalty. Did someone say untold quantities of cocaine? Drop everything immediately and go looking for this hoard. Few Petit Rat return from the shafts. Even fewer find what they're looking for. A small child steps out of the black tunnel with silver trinkets in her pockets. All around her, white snow on the extinguished coke furnaces and on the weather-worn shacks where fathers beat their sons after drinking. The snow melts on your fingers, turning to water. The canal you crossed to get here and beyond it. Martinez proper, the district the police forgot to police. There is laughter, lights, attempts at entrepreneurial activity, cynicism. Someone is scraping snow off their windshield at the roundabout, in the midst of which a statue of Philip III serves as a destination for grade school field trips and a fine perch for winter birds. A fenced-off yard. There's a truck belonging to a logistics company parked next to the gate. Bright light from a building behind the fence reflects off its hood. The abandoned church, one of 2 remaining stave churches, which were collectively called Les Sept Sœurs, The other 6 sisters were destroyed during the revolution. A serpentine strip of land weaving its way into the Martinez Inlet. Unfortunates on the run from the law, from themselves, sometimes hide out on nearby islets. Little dots in the ocean that are occasionally submerged when the tide is high and the weather foul. The remains of a camp on a jagged piece of rock, a tent, old dishes and cutlery, long since abandoned. A hermit crab scuttles among the debris, looking for a new shell. Further out, the lights burn bright on Resurrection, way beyond Martinez, a popular spa destination for ample-bodied Ozon kids with equally ample pockets. Then there's Ozon, but the snow falls too thick. You cannot see that far. The Bay of Reverchon, vastness, great depth, over 1,200 meters at its deepest. Water air-brinier than here. It is crisscrossed by huge cargo ships bearing company logos. Wild pines, Zam, Maurien. And at the farthest reaches of the Bay of Reverchon, the shadow of the coalition warship Archer, on perpetual patrol duty, ready to unleash artillery fire if you were to rise up against the Markhams. You shudder. The raised motorway, 881, separating Martinez from Jamrock. Vehicles whoosh past one another day and night, while those who reside in the labyrinthine alleyways beneath the motorway attempt to carry on with their lives in the snow and the slush. And south of the 881 is the Pox. Was once a park, a place for reflection and recuperation for the patients of the old military hospital. In the 20s, it was used as a quarantine center during a measles outbreak that killed many children. Most everyone has avoided the hospital and surrounding park ever since. The Pox is completely wild now. Evergreen thickets covered in snow and industrial dust. Feral dogs and even wolves roaming in packs. The police try to keep the deepest corners cordoned off. Heavy drug users do slip through and hole up in the old military hospital, hoping to find something to get high on among the hastily abandoned supplies, or just to overdose in peace. A line of motor garages with armored carapaces hunched in the cold. A mechanic is hard at work, patching up bullet holes in the side of a Capri 40. These are the garages of Precinct 41. Snow settles on the roof of the repurposed silk mill. It serves as your station. Shivering RCM personnel hurry in and out of the main entrance.
Wonder if Vic's found his heterosexual life partner yet.
Damn, I don't know. Even a real Bruderbund like that can't survive everything.
Around you, the snow continues to fall. To the west, the ocean swells. The stairs descend to central Jamrock. A man named Cooklove has a snow-covered stall there, in the market across the bridge. He sells kebab infested with fly larvae to your colleagues who believe eating it will make them immune to food poisoning. Snow falls on the utility district, the library, the florist, the Sarah Mauritian restaurant that offers homemade wine, and also on the brothels and drug dens, and the chop shops of the Zemlyaki. All of this built around a lake that formed in a meteorite strike. At the center of this lake, there is a little ship. There are lights at the bottom of its hull. They are lights directed toward the seafloor, looking for something, like whiskers. A chill comes over you, crawling down your back. The sand under your feet is wet. Somewhere in the south, tarpaulin flap in the wind. More Coalition aerostatics. Occasionally, lights flash as they maneuver through the falling snow. One large airship carries crates in its belly. Layer upon layer of sand, poisoned with industrial runoff. The storm drainage, hidden bunkers. Rats scuttle. Someone stuffed a big old polar anorak into a concrete pipe under the boardwalk. It would keep you warm. You would probably never happen across it. But who knows?
We should keep moving. Who knows when the snow will let up.
There's a trap in the reeds at your feet. Looks like the same one you saw Morel set before. Same mesh, same wiring. Behind you, the ruins of a residential building loom over the reeds. They whisper amongst themselves, confidentially. Snowflakes cling to their shivering stems. When this district was booming, the reeds were kept at bay. Nothing obscured the freshly painted facades. Nowhere for drunks and adventurous teenagers to hide. Now only the wind blows. Locusts are crawling around in the trap, confused but uneaten. You see no carnivorous reed phasmid gorging on them.
Big surprise. Anyway, 1 down, 3 to go. Surely. Anyway, the air is nice and fresh here.
A scattering of bullet holes is spread across the cracked wall, reaching from one corner to the other. Unable to piece together the big picture just now, there's a hole in their hypothesis. The scattering of bullet holes looks like one giant smiling mouth, smiling its deadly smile. This is the trap Morel just set. Checking it over, he said, is just a technicality. But the reeds by the abandoned campsite sway and tremble while the snow falls all around. The later it gets, the colder. Remnants of the camp can still be seen in the sand. The fire that's gone out. You feel strange, somehow. This trap is also full of panicked locusts. No sign of any cryptozoological beast inside.
Another empty trap. Always up for a good jog. Otherwise, would I still be on this case with you?
Aye, the sea's gonna calm down soon. I can feel it. The wind is turning southeast. What's on your mind, officer? Remarkable. That one already lost everything else, and now his jacket too. It's a good thing, too, that he has an actual police officer looking for it. Good old doom spiral. Upper management to the core. How sweet of you. It really is. I check around the abandoned fish market on the boardwalk. Drunks are inexplicably drawn to markets. Might be why they have such trouble staying in business. If one of them lost something, that's as good a place to start looking as any. Oh? Who? Well, how can I assist you then, officer?
This trap's not too hard to spot, once you know what to look for. Keeping it hidden has not been a priority for the cryptozoologist. The reeds bend forlornly toward the sand. Some tufts have been crushed. Snow covers the broken stalks like a shroud. In the east, the city center hums to you. The constant, distant song, louder on this part of the coast, nearer somehow. And there's that cold again. All nothing but locusts in this trap as well. Definitely no cryptozoological monstrosity.
Empty as all of them. One more of these and we're done. No, I'm fine. I didn't mean to complain, it's just...
You see, try to find something pretty and cool here, then use it to win her back. Yes, buy something nice, a figurine. This sounds off. You shouldn't trust this guy. Big men on big horses, clad in lamella.
Franco-Nigerian.
A long, long time ago.
Hello, hello. Let me know if I can help you with anything. Sure, let me have a look. Alright, let's see it. Oh no, 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 no. I don't need bloodthirsty mercenaries knocking on my door looking for their missing toys. Besides, this gear costs a fortune. There's no one in Martinez with that kind of money.
It feels like he would have accepted the risk if he hoped to profit from it. It's not greed, though. Deep down, he's a gambler, provided the stakes are sufficiently interesting.
I'm not purchasing any more clothing at the moment. Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps.
The boomboxes wait on the shelves, and your boombox, that gold and amber Harmon Waushi, stares at you longingly with its tape-reel eyes. There's no way to listen to the tape without a working tape player or portal reel at hand. But even just holding the tape makes you feel a little sad. A pawn shop would have a tape player. A typical Martinez streetlight sits The boomboxes wait on the shelves, and your boombox, that gold and...
Hello, hello. Let me know if I can help you with anything.
The boomboxes wait on the shelves, and your boombox, that gold and amber Harmon Waushi, stares at you longingly with its tape-reel eyes.
And here you are, quality sound reproduction on the go. It'll play anything, wherever, turn any tape into a conversation of sounds and shapes.
The portal reel is just what you needed. The reel's attached to the apparatus with a satisfying click. The tape is routed behind the magnetic reader. You press the large button marked Commencer, and the tape starts spinning. There's a small delay before the song starts playing. It sounds like someone's moving in the room, getting comfortable. Then the organ starts playing a simple, melancholic tune echoing in the hallway. A lone singing voice joins in, telling you about the tiniest church in Sessons, surrounded by even tinier yard. You almost feel the seaside mist on your skin. It's mega sad. Within seconds you know, this is the one, the real shit you've been looking for. The one you trust your room to that Claudia told you about. Perform it. A click, then silence for a bit. Then the tape stops spinning. Of course you could sing this. You could take sad to a whole new level with this. And you already know the lyrics since you've listened to it like 1,000,000 times. Yup, they're all here. All 3 verses. And the B-side of the tape contains the instrumental version. It's like the world itself is telling you to do it. Only one obstacle stands on your way. Gart, you have to convince Gart to let you sing karaoke in the whirling. After you've won him over, you can express yourself. Let the pain out. Make everyone understand. The lieutenant looks at you as you remove the tape from the boombox. He doesn't say anything.
Still here, stuck in this damn jam, my man. What's up? I don't want to talk about that. Man, I was hoping it isn't going to be her. All I can say is, she isn't around here anymore. She isn't some evil drug trafficker. And I don't know where she is. A youngish woman. Gruff, but in a cool way.
What color hair?
Blue and violet. Dyed. It was violet when she got here. Blue before she went. A friend? An acquaintance. I don't know. She was the only person in this damn jam I could talk to. She's someone I don't want to rat out to the law, okay? Thank God I don't know. People here call her the Lady Driver. She kept her name a secret. From me, too. Now I see why. I didn't, man. I told you I was hoping it's not her. That she wouldn't be mixed up in it.
It's true. We would of course a lie. But a kind heart is tricky.
Damn, I don't want to... Please just let it go. Whatever she did, it can't be that bad. She's not a bad person. I know that much.
We can't just let it go. It's part of a police investigation.
That's how it always is with you, isn't it? All part of the investigation. The girl's troubled. If you hunt her down, she may not survive it. I can't have that on my conscience.
It won't come to that. We won't pursue her on this. This is information only.
I don't believe you. I just can't, man. I'm not naive. She's got the darkness in her. That young person's darkness when you think it's all over. And you're looking for a way out.
She shared this with you?
Yes. Which is why I don't want to snitch on her. I heard the rumors. I saw the other drivers looking at me strange when we talked. And she told me, too, that she's had a violent life. But I wasn't afraid of her. More like for her.
Did this violent life include drug trafficking?
Well, it looks like it did now. But we didn't talk about that. We talked about life, you know? She talked about her mind. The way it worked. The trouble it was giving her.
The pain it was causing her.
Fuck, man. Go grill someone else with these questions, okay? There are plenty of drivers here who couldn't stand her, or were afraid of her. They'd be more than happy to rat her out.
He's right. There are other options. The raceman, for one. Push Tommy, and it will break his heart. And his spirit. Don't expect you to be pals. Now is not the time to focus on feelings. You need that info, son.
Thank you, friend. Wow, this makes me feel like I should pick up smoking again. Would help with my rhymes, too.
The speak, you should go over and ask him.
Everything's still cool here, officer.
The tear machine stands in the corner. A sign says, 1 bottle equals 10 cents. Your bottles clunk into the machine, and the money appears with a satisfying jingle. You're a richer man now. You see several packaged raincoats fill a low shelf beneath the packages are small, discreet, sloppily stacked, making them easier to take unnoticed. No need to worry about knocking over a display.
for something, Odd? Come to tell me to fuck off again? I don't know what you're talking about. Listen up, fuckwits. You don't scare me. You cops don't run Evashel West. You don't run Martinez. You don't run anything.
No. He means La Puta Madre.
The name resounds like a bell in the air. A dark gong. You get a bad feeling about it. Looks like the lieutenant has a plan. Let him do this.
Yeah, him.
Then I presume you are familiar with his peonies.
Yeah, they're his little bitches. He's got them all over the unions.
Not just the unions. He has peonies everywhere. Some say he even has them in the RCM. Dirty fucking peonies who'd do anything for him. Multi-ethnic drug addicts.
The lieutenant adopts a rodentine quality. Be cool, sire. He's getting into this.
You're not peonies. You wouldn't be investigating a drug thing if you were.
No, of course not. We are not peonies. But if we were, and one of Madre's drivers were to be stealing from him, then it's a good peony's job to find out who that is.
He's surprisingly good at this. Not bad at all. Look at him lurching.
It's not a hard job. It won't take a long time. It won't make Padre Madre angry. But a stupid fucking racist is standing in the way, protecting this fucking thief.
I'm not scared of you or the mob. I'm under the protection of the Lorrymen and Carters Guild.
You've seen that corpse in the ceramic armor there. Did his shitty little guild protect him?
Nah, you wouldn't just leave him out there if you...
The lieutenant turns and gives you a barely perceptible nod. I've softened him up as best I could. Now it's on you to finish the job. Be careful. This man's still got some fight in him, by the looks of it. It won't be easy to break him. Men like this only respect two things: strength and fear. Time to turn up the volume.
Fuck you, I told you. I'm not gonna...
There. His voice grows smaller as yours.
Look, fuck you, man. It's some lorry down there. Green, banged up thing. I don't fucking know who she is.
When did she go away?
I don't know. I don't even know her name. She just rolls with the fleet and acts like a big shot. Some dyke, probably. I haven't even seen her for days.
Now it's not a big deal for him anymore. This is how he saves face.
Past the monument. Down there. The Green Temple. Now leave me the fuck alone, okay?
A small temple by the monument. Green. Let's get into that lorry.
This green found, A to Z, contemporaire, is parked in the shadow of the ruins looming overhead. It's seen better days.
This must be the one he told us about, unless he was lying.
The glass on the side windows is tinted and covered with dust. You can barely make out the shape of the seat and 2 steering levers. The door is locked. The handle looks shiny, like it's recently replaced. There's no pick in this lock. The owner has put special care into it. It's a recessed design.
Use the pry bar to smash the window. Open it from the inside. This has been hard enough. No need to make it any harder.
This green faun, A to Z, contemporain, is parked in the shadow of the ruins looming overhead. It's seen better days. This green faun, A to Z, contemporain. With a firm grip, you raise the pry bar, a glint of light catching on the tip. Call down the hammer of truth and justice. Release your secrets, lorry cabin. The window shatters, and droplets of glass fly everywhere, shattering over the lorry floor and pavement.
Subtle.
The smell of cigarettes and perfume welcomes you. The cabin inside is plastered with old movie posters. Actresses smile from the walls. There's a radio transmitter in the front and a toolbox tucked under the driver's seat. Some tools lie scattered near the pedals. These are movie posters featuring starlets from long-forgotten films from the 20s, the teens, even the 90s of the last century. One of them particularly catches your eye, a centerfold of an ingenue attached right above the back seat. There's definitely perfume in the air. It's spicy, with a hint of amberette, wafting through the bitter air of the cabin. The remnants of a sweet juniper-scented perfume, probably Grenade No. 5. The actress is draped in a sheathed dress, one of her shoulders bared. The faded remains of an autograph run across the poster. She's looking past the camera. Wait, doesn't she resemble someone you know? But you can't put your finger on whom exactly. The actresses and the rear actor all smile you a warm goodbye. A radio transmitter is attached to the dashboard and a toolbox sits under the driver's seat. Looks like the frequency dial is absent. It requires a key to work, but the key has been removed, likely by the missing lady driver.
Strange. There are so many radio stations saved here. Must be over 100 at least.
It has to be an advanced model to fit so many frequencies next to each other without blending them together.
For contacting an entire fleet of lorrymen, for example. This is all shortwave, UW and UKV. Looks like we are dealing with an impressive organizational tool. The nerve center of a huge operation, with quite a range too.
A 20-kilometer radius at least, perhaps extended by an attachable antenna that's not here right now.
Doesn't look like it. It's completely inoperable without the dial key.
The smell of 1,000 cigarettes, some dead actresses, and a rusty old toolbox under the seat. You wedge yourself under the steering wheel to get a better look. Seems like the few tools lying around here, a hammer, a pair of pliers, a rusty wrench, have been casually thrown there by the disorganized driver. But one odd detail does catch your eye. A piece of sandpaper has been glued to the throttle.
Sandpaper? A novel technique. Must be to offer some extra grip to the driver's foot.
The movie stars are still smiling from the walls. There's a radio transmitter in the front and a pull-out toolbox tucked under the driver's seat. A metallic drawer slides out from the seat. It's empty, except for a folded newspaper. It's an issue of Périphérique from last Wednesday. A piece of paper falls out from its pages. It looks like an article ripped out from a radio enthusiast magazine. Complex mathematical equations explain the basics of something called the Ulan frequency system. These formulas look oddly painful. Maybe it's the hangover, but they give you a headache.
The Ulan frequency system? I've never heard of that before. I know of FM, AM, UKV, but...
The pull-out toolbox slides back into its nest. The rest is as it was. Radio, posters, a trace of motor oil smell under all the cigarettes. Close the rusty old lorry door.
Great. I think we got everything. A word, detective? Before we return to Joyce? All right, we've finished here. Let's quickly debrief and go over what we found, so we don't do it in front of the company rep. Honestly, I'm quite worried by what we've seen so far. The evidence seems to point to a rather extensive and well-organized operation. I'm especially intrigued by that radio transmitter, particularly the sheer number of stations it can connect. Looks like this alleged drug trade casts a wide net. I'm not sure what the Ulan frequencies are all about, but they may hold some significance. Perhaps it's a better way to connect between fleets while avoiding frequency bleed, or maybe it's used to tap into RCM networks.
Listening in on your calls between you and your station, a worrying prospect.
As elegant as they are, I don't think they are relevant to the drug trade.
Don't be fooled. Desire always plays a role.
Yes, well...
Unimportant.
We didn't find anything conclusive linking them to the smuggling operation. But somehow, I doubt that Everard Clare would be oblivious to something like this happening right under his nose. My suggestion is, we use it against the Union in any way we can, to our own ends. It's a slippery hill, but we just might be able to pin them down, indirectly, down the road. We should return to the murder case, see what Joyce tells us about the lynching. When we are done for the day, I call my station and suggest our narcotics department look into it. There are more than enough grounds to start an official investigation, sometime later when we are done here. We do not want to get caught in that. The fact that one hasn't started already gives me pause. An investigation, I mean. Especially if the Madrid grouping is involved, and I can't imagine they aren't. It's certainly worrisome. All the same, I don't like the idea of internal affairs descending on the matter. That won't help anyone either. Debrief over. After you.
I saw you poking around in Lady Driver's lorry. She in trouble? Still better than me, I guess. Told you there's plenty of others who'd tell on her. But is she in trouble? It's that bad. Man, what should I do? What should I do to help her? Yeah, maybe I should just keep my head down and work on my rhymes while I can. Oh, you know, Tommy Leham's gonna be a musician. Sprechgesang, but with beats. I've got a lot of free time on the road to hone my craft. Tommy Lam was taken. My real name's Jerry Lafitte. Tommy's way better.
The man taps his fingers rhythmically against his arm.
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire my mural? Ooh, not only have you found my address, you've discovered my biggest secret. I'm a coal miner.
She does have eyes that seem to be smeared with coal.
Does anyone in a city like this? Yes, I keep hoping a shaft will collapse on me, but somehow it never happens. It doesn't have to do anything at all. Nothing does. Like me. Right now, I'm doing nothing at all. Shoot, Piggy. It's what you do, isn't it? What do I care about some fucking tin eggshells? Ugh, alright. Sad Piggy. I'll give you this one. I saw a little girl in the fishing village running around with military-grade handwear. Looked cute as hell.
Could that girl have been little Lily? It's not a bad place to start.
Could have been her. Small kid with giant white armored hands. If you've seen one of them, you've seen them all. You're back. Good. What can I help you with? By love, you did.
Fast, observantly, like an electronic printer.
Pleased to meet you, Lieutenant W. Freighter Dubois. I am glad to see a man of high qualification. The situation is precarious. What can I help you with, Lieutenant Freighter?
How about you share your information on the lynching, now that you've seen his badge?
The goalposts have moved, Lieutenant. In the absence of the badge, I have informed my employer there will be a probe. I cannot rescind that promise. To my knowledge, the drivers are still at the roundabout. I will tell you everything I know when you've finished with them. I am glad to hear that, because let me tell you, we are in dire waters. The sooner the probe is finished, the sooner I can share crucial information with you. Now, is there anything I can do for you in the meanwhile? Tea, perhaps? More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything. It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Symptoms include a retrograde amnesia. It's quite serious. You should get yourself checked out. Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use. That seems unlikely.
What this boils down to is, this reality thing is stupid. Blow this joint, grab a bottle, and drain that shit right down your throat. Yes, and lie about it too, to her. Wait. This reality thing is the only game in town. It's probably in your interest not to blow it. She stares at you, head tilted to the side, with a slightly concerned look on her face.
What I am not is a basic term of reality.
Everyone wants to talk about themselves. She will, in time.
A bird? A Svenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Some sort of krill hunter? No, wait. You're an ancient ruin. A symbol of hubris and decay. half submerged in some salty sea. Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games. Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot. Or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveau. They're old. This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course. Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off. Splat, splat.
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful. The girl in the old lady rags. Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture. Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture. I can't. That's how simple it is. One may dye their hair green and wear their grandma's coat all they want. Capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Even those who would critique capital end up reinforcing it instead. All right. What next?
Six kilometers southwest, in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at a rabid black dog licking its wounds in the grass. To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again. We always do.
You're an officer of the RCM. Preciso mundo. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin. The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, 3 pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
All 3 are good to know when we are out policing.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent, provisional rulers like it. Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you. The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown. They called it the international zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed. A true blue citizens' initiative. They will never forgive you.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Revacholians get to keep the peace in Revachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol. And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help. Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia. We are.
Yes. And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I am here to help.
What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air.
What world? The only one, I suppose. The world of matter. And its pale antipode.
The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water.
Great bodies of water. Forest-covered surfaces. Clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage. We all have. This world is enough. There is a term of endearment they coined for it. In the DeLorean century, when humanity was high on this world, discovering more and more of it, these archipelagos included. Elysium. It does. There are those who would call it hell. A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the petro-fascists. Oh, you want a picture of the world? There is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit. Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways. We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s.
ORG, Occident Revachol Grad.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, they're piecing together a dark grey corona. Yes. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago.
A cold fear seeps into you.
You seem to be spooked. Please don't. They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness. I am sorry, dear. It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here. But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound. You have misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it. See? Everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities.
The cold seeps into you. The air is heavy with 80% humidity. Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there, on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. The lieutenant observes you both, silently. He adjusts his glasses.
The Pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
Yes. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. Remember, we have a cadaver to attend to.
His voice is low, but firm. All she can say is,
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's try something else. I don't think your colleague would appreciate that. He has already been so patient with this whole exercise. Let's continue with something else, all right? You can ask about anything else in the world.
You could sneak back later when the lieutenant is not here, unless you can convince him to step aside.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else? Yes, my eyes on the harbor have sent word to that effect. What have you discovered? It doesn't really matter, and I do apologize for the surveillance. Wild Pines can't afford to be blind at a time like this. In any case, it's a relief to know someone has looked into it. If I may ask, will there be an official investigation?
The lieutenant is about to interject. Cut him off. This decision should be yours.
If there is an investigation, it will be part of an ongoing operation, subject to confidentiality. I am sure you understand.
Of course, detectives. In any case, you've held up your end of our arrangement. I trust you with the rest. Now it's my turn. I wouldn't normally break protocol like this, but the situation demands it. If you don't solve this murder, I'm afraid we may have a bloodbath on our hands.
The words bloodbath sound cold in her mouth. They taste of iron and strawberries.
Yes. I'm afraid this strike may descend into a small-scale civil war, with possible consequences for all of Rivershoal West.
Since you are sharing, ma'am, this is also the RCM's worst-case scenario.
Then we're on the same page, as grim as it may be. I have an indirect role to play,
I'm sad to say. My employer experienced a momentary lapse of faith in me. In that moment, they elected to deploy a private military contractor as an insurance measure. They called it my security detail. They were dispatched after I relayed the union's initial offer.
Every worker...
A member of the board. I tried to convince my employer it was simply a piece of rhetoric, or a joke. They did not appreciate the humor. Absolutely not. These mercenaries are muscle, pure and simple. They are meant to intimidate the Union into surrendering.
Who are they, exactly?
Crenell, an Oranese military company. As far as I know, 3 arrived in Martinez. They report to me sporadically, but they do not answer to me. To be frank, our relationship is deteriorating. They wear ceramic armor, have semi-automatic weapons, and years of combat experience. They also have trauma and stressor disorder, and no idea how to conduct themselves in an urban civilian environment.
So, what happened?
The story is, one of them, the colonel, I don't know his real name, sexually assaulted a local woman while he was drunk and separated from his unit. This allowed some of the more militant Union members to subdue him. He was taken out behind the whirling in rags and lynched last Sunday night. Nothing. Mr. Clare refuses to let me into the harbor. I have not been able to discuss this matter with anyone there. The remaining 2 Crenell contractors carry out their orders, for now. It's a smokescreen. In secret, they are conducting an independent military tribunal into the lynching. Once this investigation is concluded, executions will follow.
What is the nature of this so-called investigation?
Whether to execute one, some, or all of the Union militants.
It will be all of them. The decision is already made.
It is very far from disco. My only hope is that you provide a single, concrete suspect before the mercenaries indiscriminately pick theirs. Simply put, if you don't pin this on someone good, and do it fast, they will identify and execute everyone present at the lynching. This in turn will force the Union to respond.
They would have to project strength and power.
The Debardeurs have over 2,000 men. It will be 1,000 to 1.
Have you ever seen a Hornet invade a beehive, Lieutenant? It's not pretty. These men work in tandem using semi- and fully automatic firearms. Their armor is virtually impenetrable to muzzle-loaded weapons, even yours. Most Union workers don't have guns at all.
The muzzle loaders need to be reloaded after every 1 or 2 shots. The automatics every 1 or 2 minutes.
As I said, a bloodbath.
Maybe a good bloodletting is just what Martinez needs.
Many bleak scenarios have already come true, Lieutenant W. Frater de Bois. All we can do is keep the rest from going the same way. One single concrete suspect delivered into civil court, and I may be able to defuse this situation. Until the executions start? Truthfully, I don't know. It depends on their progress identifying the members of the lynch mob, and their impatience.
They don't report their progress to you?
Not on this matter. I'm afraid they consider this a personal initiative. It's a matter of days, not weeks. They've gone to ground, as it were. I don't recommend seeking them out. For one, they're almost certainly armed to the teeth. They don't have the same respect for the Revachol citizens' militia as I do. To put it bluntly, they think you're vigilantes. Ghetto savages. It will not be a fruitful meeting.
Vigilantes. You're a professional officer of the only legitimate authority in Revachol. You should show those meatheads exactly how savage you really are.
You're likely to run into them eventually. When that happens, I'll be in a better position to mediate if I don't appear involved.
One is obviously the scab leader at the harbor gates. The one chanting the idiotic slogans. He's barely maintaining his disguise. The other has a vantage point in a building south of the roundabout. They were keeping tabs on you while you were canvassing the lorry drivers.
That may be so. I still hope you heed my advice. There's no need to kick the hornet's nest.
For all your talk of averting this catastrophe, the situation at the gate is a powder keg. Does this not bother you?
Of course it bothers me, Lieutenant. But my hands are tied. How would my employer react if it appeared I were intervening on behalf of the Union?
Your concern may be appearances. Ours is keeping the peace.
That would afford a good vantage point. In any case, it's practically inaccessible.
Where is your radio for contacting them, if I may ask? Do you have an earpiece?
Heavens no. I'm not an undercover agent. There's a short wave at the ship's wheel. I hope I can answer it better. If you mean did I see him alive, yes, but I did not know him. Lely, his service name, a nom de guerre most likely. He wouldn't divulge his full name. Only one of them did. A bad sign if there ever was one. One is a man, Corty, they call him, a nickname as well. The other a woman, Phyllis DePaul. Corty is the gunner, I believe. DePaul is a radio operator.
What would you say was his eye color, the deceased?
She closes her eyes, trying to picture the man's face, then shakes her head.
I can't remember.
That's all right, then. Anything else? Nationality? What would you say was his age?
He was 40. Or 50. It's hard to say which. He had a combat injury on his lower jaw. It made it difficult to estimate his age, or gauge his facial expressions.
What else? Nationality? Accent?
He was, Occidental, I think. Light brown hair, a mixed accent, Oranese, or Messinian, maybe. His injury gave him an accent all his own. In a way, it was humanizing. He had to learn to speak through it, through the injury. That's all I know, I guess. I only met him once.
Must be hard to force your face to move in a new fashion. If you continue like this, you'll have an aneurysm. Then you'll have to.
Not much. Their public resume is relatively good, as far as private military contractors go. I believe they were once called Downwell. They boast a long list of clients. Saint-Baptiste, Welchman-Lorenz, Eendracht. A warning sign, however. The operations concerned all take place in third or fourth world countries. Guarding facilities, escort missions and such.
Meaning they're used to operating in war zones.
Yes. All the good conflict corridors. Supramundi, Yesut, the Seminese Islands. Countries that don't have a good record reporting atrocious military conduct on their soil. Sadly, no. Before this happened, I had little interest in them. Now that I do, I don't have the resources. If you still have access to the ICP's database, you could run a better background check than I ever could. It may take some time, though.
Do you know a lot about the inner workings of the RCM and the ICP now?
In my line of work, it pays to do your research. I was prepared to deal with the RCM. I did not think I'd be dealing with a group like Crenell. I have. And they will. However, these orders take time to reach what is basically a rogue unit out in the field here. Until they do, it's all on us.
She's being truthful. She is pressing them as hard as she can.
Or he didn't. This is information passed on to me from some teenagers loitering around the canal. I cannot testify by it. The remaining contractors, their tribunal, it's what they believe. That the man was killed because he assaulted a local woman. I've asked around a bit. This seems to be the accepted story around Martinez.
The lieutenant consults his notebook, his eyebrows knitted in concentration.
Odd. We haven't heard any reports about an assault in connection with the lynching. Where did it take place? And when?
Last Sunday night, at the Whirling in Rags, the hostel by the gates. Supposedly, the Colonel was drunk, maybe on narcotics too. Either way, he's alleged to have sexually assaulted a woman. Sometime later, a group of dock workers got their hands on him. That's a good question, officer. I don't have the slightest idea. As I said, it's a rumor about a rumor. In any case, it's what the Colonel's remaining colleagues believe.
You meet her soon enough, you feel.
I am sorry to have been the bearer of bad news. If there is anything else I can help you with, please ask. Of course. Excuse my hesitation before.
It was taken with a trigette not long ago. This is the man's upper body. There were no more markings on his hands or legs.
Her mouth is relaxed. The accordion lines near her mouth vanish. The pearls of her eyes move slowly on the photo's surface.
Sorry. I was trying to see if I can read the web of interdependencies between these points. The stars. I can't. But that's how you read this story. The points themselves don't have letters, numbers, anything. Their size, location on the body, and distance from each other tells you what they represent. Close. Port cities. This is an Oronese map of the waterways, a sailor's tattoo worn by wayfarers of the Dolorian century. Over 300 years ago, the sailors would mark their bodies to map their travels. Quite a few. Vredefort, the Oronese capital, traditionally stands on the right shoulder.
What next?
Then he made his way to the Pretto Grande, through what I think must be the Stutz Canal, an artificial channel through the Occident. From the Pretto, he sailed to the Insulindic Ocean, first the Semines Islands, then this. Revachol. Those are the two constants. Vredefort on the shoulder, and Revachol in the heart. They started the tradition of these maps right after the discovery of Insulinde, at the dawn of the Inter-Isolary Age.
You said you can't read it.
I can't. This man was no sailor, and these are no ports. I can understand geographic fragments, but not their meaning.
In Martinez, looking into Krenel, he writes in one. Then the man puts down his pen and rubs his temples with both hands. Outside, there is a siren. Distant gunshots on the streets of the Jamrock Quarter.
That makes sense to me. We have no more use for a map of the waterways, just like we don't need sailors the way we used to. This is what the custom would morph into on the Occident. Mercenary tattoos. The sailor's soul would use it to fly back home if they should die abroad. This is a sort of contraption to be reeled back in by. The silver cord, they would call it. His platoon members? The other contractors, though I do not suggest you go and show them that picture. This man was their friend and comrade.
Challenge accepted. I say we do it.
Do what you have to do, Detective Dubois. I don't think deciphering that tattoo should come before public security. But if you should wade into the mob to find out, I couldn't stop you.
We will be careful, ma'am.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
There are several footprints in the mud, left by work boots.
Kuno's like Kuno's dad? Kuno doesn't give a fuck about anything.
The rotting man lies on his side with his eyes looking straight through you. The belt is still around his neck. His body is supine and open to intrusion by autopsy.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them. Unfortunately, no. Unhygienically? I suggest I handle the physical part of the autopsy and you take notes. That's right.
The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with
That's you.
The corpse is indifferent to your scribblings, just lies there. The next box says
KK57-0803.0815. We've heard the nom de guerre, Lely. It's better than nothing. Write it down. What's next? NA. Roughly 50.
The corpse looks ageless, like meat on a hook. Teeming with opportunistic microorganisms, letting out a foul-smelling diamine compound. Your eyes turn watery.
Mondial.
The pudgy mess of curdled meat looks neither mondial nor anything other.
Fucky, fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th, 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
KK 57 0503 0815 listens motionless, with the cargo belt still around his neck. Only one box remains.
None. At least not after the initial examination. Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem.
How did you not know that? Aren't you a cop? You're leaving a weak impression here. Say something sure-handed. Don't overdo it. It's okay to be unsure. A silent nod. The lieutenant places his gloved hand on the corpse's chest, as if in preparation. Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosencrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbach puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, light drizzle. There is darkness in the shed. Elsewhere yet, an obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. The building is tall, 7 stories wind-wrapped in solitude. Most of the apartments are unoccupied. This was a suicide, the other an accident, the small one. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today, 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
The rest of the clothes have been removed post-mortem by scavengers in order to get to the victim's ceramic armor. Officers are in search of the missing pieces. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else. Patience. After the autopsy, before the body is taken away, there will be a window of opportunity. After the lieutenant has gone to sleep. I hope this has helped you, my liege.
Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo, resembling a map of the night sky. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a cargo lashing belt around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. generally consistent with age, about 50. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature, below freezing.
The spine is bent more than the lieutenant compensated for. This buster's actual height is about 1.85. And no, you could not take him straight on.
Of course, I undercompensated. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short.
His hair feels wet, soaked with rain, cold to touch. Not that different from a living person after a swim. The stench is suffocating. Strands of dark brown hair start sticking to your hand, like thread off a rag doll's head. There's brilliantine in there. He's combed his hair back with oil. More hair sticks to your hand. Hair off the rain-soaked head of a dead man. There are bumps and dips on the skull below. An alien landscape. For a fraction of a second you feel something, an irregularity, but then it's gone. Too minute to register in your mind. What was what? Brilliantine. There's brilliantine in his hair.
Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs, consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters. The hanged man lets out a joyous little bubble of rot from his nose.
Always good to think ahead. Now, we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully, with as much precision as you can.
See, my pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
You are? You're Kuno's pig?
Concentrate on the belt, not on who is whose pig. There is no pig. There are only the chain cutters and the belt. The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the yeast. The knot is the weak spot. The chain cutters fit in there, steady now, like a flower arranger. 2 cuts and it should come loose. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap. The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck.
As it ought to. This is where its grip on the curdled meat is gentlest, pulling up.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! Let's get out and see!
I fucking knew it!
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury.
The dead man's penis is average-sized, congested from the downward collection of blood. The testicles are uneven in length, hanging underneath. The genitalia is greenish. Marbling is present around the crotch. You should touch it. Doesn't feel like anything. Just cold flesh under your finger. Unremarkable and unalive.
My pig's so fucking ill right now.
Oh, your pig's pretty sick, I gotta say.
This wasn't necessary. What's going on here? Why are you doing that? The lieutenant is unaware of what's happening in your head and why you're touching it. He merely expects you to write down his notes on the man's genitalia so you can move on.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are old combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip.
Bullets have bitten little pieces out of him. It must have been excruciating, especially the hip. Before you is a temple of pain that knew little tenderness in life.
In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin. We have a real museum here, of battles, wars. Last item, hands.
His flesh is cold, icy.
Pleased to meet you. Where are you from and what's your name? I'm only fucking with you. I know where you're from. From Cappadocia. And your name is Il Corbo. What can I do you for, Il Corbo de Cappadocia? I did, Kobo. I did. Reminded me of when I was just a small boy, before this happened to my face and my body. You did me a kindness there. We should do this more often. Be close like this, I mean.
Hands are clean. No sign of injury from struggling. I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
You don't even have a joke.
Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous. You hear cracks as the lieutenant moves his sharp fingers inside the flesh, like the creaking of an old house at night.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact and remarkable. Respiratory system.
He's really doing it. The dead man's teeth cut into his gloved hands.
Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen, hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth.
No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there. Sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like throwing up. Straight in that mouth. No, you don't. You can keep it in. You can keep anything in. You manage to suppress the contractions trying to enter your stomach. All it takes is concentration. Through it, you see nothing but darkness. More meat and darkness.
There are ancient mysteries down there, Kobo. Ask me later.
Hemorrhaging present in mucus. Hepatobiliary, Na. Are you a hepatobiliary expert? Neither am I. That's it. Same for toxicology and serology, and unless you have untapped reservoirs of knowledge there? Like a toxicology screening? At this stage, I doubt processing will find anything, even if he was brimming with cocaine. But still, you should add a request.
Brimming with cocaine.
Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal. Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too. Head, chest and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing its post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Right. Next. Nothing. Just in case. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible. What was that about no clawing around the neck? You'd be clawing for your life.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much to be questioned. But it's a start. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. Well, we established probable cause of death. Some would say that's the goal of an autopsy. We also requested a toxicological screening. That was thorough. The results should arrive in a couple of weeks, if we are lucky. I will not hold my breath. We were thorough with the list of injuries too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy.
Oh yeah, well done, Master Detective. Maybe a drink is in order?
Now, you see, that worries me. You will die if you drink. You know that, don't you? You are proving a useful detective. The organization would miss you.
Please get yourself together. The lieutenant from Precinct 57 thinks.
I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg. For processing.
You tilt your head, also looking at the corpse.